can. So good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a nice lunch. And thank you for being here. Though there was very nice weather outside, and you choose to be here in the policy panel, we appreciate your time and effort. Before we start, I would like you to ask all your questions through this Mentimeter. So you can scan this QR code so you can ask the questions even if you are here. If you cannot log in or if you cannot ask, just raise your hand during the question and answer session. We will be happy to provide you some mic. So my name is Mostafa. I'm the Executive Director of Marie Curie Alumni Association, or MSCA. Today we are here to talk about the workshop 2, which is focusing on how Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action, or MSCA, can currently contribute to addressing the global challenges, and also what more can we do to strengthen the policy impacts of MSCA. So we have with me Gerard, who is the Policy Officer of the MSCA unit of the DG EAC of European Commission. He joined the team of MSCA, I think, in 2019. He is currently responsible for international cooperation with Latin America and Caribbean, and as well as also the program evaluation, communication activities. He previously worked at the European Education Audiovisual Culture Executive Agency, managing projects in the field of higher education and cooperation with African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. Then we have Estrella Diaz, who is an associate professor of marketing at the UCLM. She is a leading researcher in the field of smart tourism. She has over 20 years of experience on teaching as well as research in economics, applied marketing. She has been elected by the European Society for Opinion and Market Research as one of the 250 pioneering professionals and leading international experts in the field of market research. She is also a member of the Young Academy of Spain as well as the Global Young Academy. Then we have with us Joaquin Silvestre Alberto. I hope I don't butcher the name. He's a full professor at the Inorganic Chemistry Department at University of Alicante. He worked as a postdoctoral student at Valencia, Spain, and then he is a full professor at the Inorganic Chemistry Department from 2018. He developed research in the last 20 years, mainly devoted on the synthesis and characterization of porous solids. Besides teaching and research activities, he is involved with several national and international projects. He is the coordinator of the Horizon 2020 RISE project on nanomet. Then we have Fernanda Vajanka, who is the chair of Marie Curie Alumni Association. In the past, she was the vice chair of the association, as well as the chair of the policy working group. Under her leadership, MCA policy working group is flourished what it is today. Professionally, she has over 2 decades of international, interdisciplinary, and intersectoral research activities, so she is also a perfect example of the III mobility of the European Commission. She is currently responsible for managing clinical research targeting rare disease at the Children's Hospital in France. So welcome to all the speakers. Now, if you look at the MSCA program, it is actually standing in the forefront of supporting innovative and diverse research endeavor across Europe and beyond. We have seen today at the opening ceremony as well as during the plenary session how MSCA project or MSCA researcher can help contributing and tackling the global challenges. So today we actually here to find out a bit more how bottom-up approach specifically can help addressing the global challenges and find out strategies that can elevate the program's policy impact. We all know that one of the pioneer or one of the most important thing is that the bottom-up approach we also heard today morning. And it is in a way protected, and we need to see how actually the bottom-up approach can help solving the global challenges. Claire mentioned today, the reason behind is that if it is a top-down, there is a policy impact, but we don't know at the local level, we don't know at the level of the researcher what is going on. So this is why I think the MSCA program, MSCA researchers can add a great value on that. But before going to see the researchers, before going to hear from the researcher, we would like to hear from Gerard, who would be talking about the impact of the MSCA. So Gerard, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mostafa. Can you hear me well? Yeah, perfect. It's great to have you here, and this is a great occasion to speak about the different components of MSCA. I think that we will have people online and in the room that might not know about the main objectives of MSCA at different levels. So if the slide is working, it's not really working.
Yes.
Okay, I went too far. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna start now. So I will start by reminding, as I was saying, a few important components of the MSCA that we've been hearing during the morning. And today I will be speaking notably about the international dimension of the MSCA, how MSCA is a global program that aims at bringing together different researchers from across the world and tackling challenges by enhancing these opportunities to exchange, to train, and develop the career of researchers. And also how these can contribute to creating better research with better outputs that tackle European priorities, but also global ones. As you can see in the slide beside me, MSCA is above all an excellence-based program. So that's important because we are speaking a lot about the definition of excellence and what excellence is. And to us, excellence encompasses so many things, but among them also open science, and inside open science also science engagement, meaning that for us it's important, really important, that researchers go outside of the lab, communicate their research, and are in touch with different sorts of audiences, among them policymakers. Also, MSCA is a program that values international cooperation, as I was saying, because we believe that by bringing researchers across the world and also giving them the chance to see other research practices, or how other things are done in other parts of the world, they will create much better research to tackle different challenges and also create better impact. Also, something very important, and sorry for those that know already, but one of the core objectives of MSCA is to develop this human capital that will be able, so these researchers that will be able to detect, that know, the priorities on the ground and how they can bring them further and create research outputs that can effectively tackle them. And also something important is that, and I will not speak about that, is that MSCA creates also these connections for researchers to step out of the lab and cooperate with a non-academic sector and also with teams in other disciplines, which is, of course, a core aspect of this capacity of eventually tackling global challenges. So I will give you a few figures, and I hope this will give you some food for thought about where MSCA stands in terms of promoting international cooperation. From the figures you can see on the screen, it seems that MSCA is indeed a very international program that fosters this exchange of ideas, innovations, and also that is helping to translate this research into concrete outputs with participation of different countries and sectors. But we also know that MSCA is a bottom-up program. We've been saying, and often we hear that the bottom-up nature of MSCA is detrimental to good research, which we know is not the case, because all evaluations say it otherwise. And also our impact assessment suggests that MSCA, with this component, is really helping to tackle global challenges. So anyway, MSCA is a bottom-up program, but we also need to maximize its impact to tackle certain challenges, and notably European and global policy priorities, such as the European Green Deal and the Sustainable Development Goals. But since we are funding projects in all research fields, we are managing to do that. Also, we need, global cooperation also has its problems, of course, but one of the goals of the Marie Skłodowski reactions and Horizon Europe in general is to open science as much as possible to international cooperation, because we know this has an added value in the end of the day. And also, and this is something I will speak about a bit later, MSCA is doing all of that, but we need to be more strategic when it comes to assessing how the program is, addressing these challenges and so on. As you can see here, and now I come to the concrete data, MSCA accounts for 50% of all participations by third countries. When I say third countries, I mean countries outside of the EU or countries associated to Horizon Europe. So MSCA accounts for 50% of all these participations in the big framework program of the EU, Horizon Europe, and also it was the case for Horizon 2020. Also, MSCA accounts for the participation of 25% of all the non-EU, organizations participating in the framework program. Also, and something very, well, I'm not managing with the, with the remote control apparently. Something very important is that 40% of our researchers are non-EU nationals, meaning that we are managing to achieve one of the goals of the MSCA, which is to attract, train, and develop the careers of talent from all over the world, which are not necessarily based in Europe. And this is also something very important to remind. We fund researchers mostly to come to Europe, that's true, but also with the different actions, they can carry part of their research fieldwork elsewhere in the world, or also do most of the research elsewhere. And a notable example of this is our global fellowships that send hundreds of researchers abroad to do the research for 2 years and sometimes even longer than that. So with these figures, I will show you as well some very, I would say, enlightening chart on the participation of non-EU countries in the program. As I was saying, MSCA accounts for this big proportion of third country participation in the framework program, and we have a massive participation from the United Kingdom, the United States, Switzerland as well. Well, United Kingdom and Switzerland hopefully will, we know for the United Kingdom, but hopefully they will join the framework program very soon. But here you can see some, they are still considered as third countries, but also we have a great participation by countries such as Australia, Canada, China, Argentina, Japan, Brazil, and Chile. These are our major participants in the program, and with the exception of the, I would say, first three, the others participate especially in our staff exchanges action. This is our funding scheme, that promotes cooperation worldwide, is our most international action, and we'll hear about some concrete examples afterwards, but is also the action where we see a high innovation component, and also these projects are having a big impact. Recently, we saw in a study that we published, I think it was in July 2023, that, for instance, RISE projects, staff exchanges projects, account for 40% of the patents produced by MSCA projects, meaning that there's a massive pool, of innovation and outputs out there that are being produced not only by EU countries, but also in their cooperation with countries worldwide. And also a nice figure that was recorded in this report is that 80% of the countries participating, 80% of the participation by developing countries are also done through this scheme. I have little time, so I will show you another slide where you can see quickly how much MSCA represents compared to Horizon Europe for all the countries participating, all these countries you see participating in Horizon Europe, and you will see that in most cases, MSCA accounts for a big proportion of their participation in the framework program. And if it works, Can I have an extra minute?
Yes.
Yeah. Also, as I was saying before, we are trying to make this international cooperation more strategic. And we're planning to do so notably by a project we are funding that started recently, MSCA Advocacy, that is analyzing our cooperation with 20 countries with we have bilateral dialogues, political dialogues and exchanges at a scientific level, and also how we cooperate with different world regions. Also, this project will focus on specific areas that are a priority for these countries, and also in those areas that are of common interest. Again, MSCA is a bottom-up program, but we can contribute, to all these challenges that these countries are aiming to address with their, cooperation with the EU. And finally, not yet, thank you. Okay, no sorry worries. About that. And finally, I just wanted to say a few words about our contribution to specific societal challenges, and also to say, and this will be addressed in another workshop, that we are redoubling our efforts to monitor our contribution to certain political priorities, among them SDGs and the EU missions. Just to give you a very concrete example, in 2021, we assessed that we had a number of projects addressing specific EU missions. You can see some figures on the screen, but this is not a complete picture. It's just some examples of projects with a very concrete contribution that we identified. And also we are promoting even more and more the contribution of MSCA to these challenges through cluster events, also specific studies and matchmaking events with different commission departments and external partners. And also very soon we are planning to launch a feedback to policy project that will map this contribution of MSCA to different priority areas. Also, make projects cooperate to create joint training for our researchers, and also to exploit better the results that they eventually produce through the projects we fund. I'm already very late, so I'm going to leave it there. And thank you for listening. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Gerard, especially showing us the number. This is not only important that MSCA is driving the bottom-up approach for different topics, but also we need to remember the number you showed. This is quite impressive in the fact that there are researchers coming from non-EU and going back. So this is also a tool for diplomacy, as well as contributing or establishing collaboration with the non-European partners. So certainly. I think this is one of the unique advantages of MSCA. So now I would give the floor to Estrella for her presentation.
Thank you, Mustafa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mustafa, for your kind presentation. I would like to start this participation by thanking to the organizers of this important event for the invitation to be in this room. The main purpose of this presentation is to envisage the smart tourism role in addressing local challenges with the Marie Curie project, Smart Tourism. The Marie Curie project, Smart Tourism, was a 3-year Marie Curie global fellowship with the University of Castilla-La Mancha as the beneficiary institution. During this project has included an academic and non-academic contest. Specifically, I was developing this project for 2 years at San Diego State University in the United States. And during my return year in Europe, I was doing a secondment at the European Travel Commission. The European Travel Commission is an European institution that promotes Europe as a destination to third countries. I included academic and non-academic contests in order to to gain more knowledge and more experiences in different contexts in order to apply this experience to my research and to my teaching. This project was multidisciplinary, including different aspects as marketing, tourism, and technologies mainly. The main objectives of this project was firstly to determine the main consequences of a smart tourism experience when visiting a destination. It is illustrated in the model 1 that we'll see in the next slide. The second objective of smart tourism was to analyze the effect of smart technology infusion and organizational mindfulness by tourism-related small and medium-sized organizations on the effect of on organizational variables. The findings that I obtained from these two objectives helped me to design the guidelines for destination in order to increase the smartness and the competitiveness of these destinations. This project was developed in two contexts, the United States and Europe, and this project is aligned to two Horizon 2020 cross-cutting priorities, specifically the new forms of innovativeness in small and medium-sized organizations and the digital empowerment of users. In this slide, you can see the two models that I use in this project. The first one, the model 1, from the consumer's perspective, and the model 2 from an organizational point of view. Specifically in the following slides, we will try to give answer to the following question. How has smart tourism contributed to addressing global challenges, always considering our regional perspective? Firstly, this project, Smart Tourism, tried to offer different benefits to society, including the different sustainable development objectives provided to specific destinations. Some of the benefits that I tried to provide to the destinations were the revaluation of the destination, the increasing of competitiveness, the process efficiency, sustainable development, the quality of stay and quality of life or well-being of the residents of the destinations, and the economy dynamization of the territory. In order to, from this project, I gained training and knowledge enough to assess and support to different destinations in order to increase their competitiveness. If we analyze a global context, one practical result of this project was my participation in a pilot project funded by European Commission entitled Smart Tourism Destinations. During this project, I was coaching to 48 destinations in Europe together with other 9 independent experts. If we focus the context of the practical use of this project, I would like to provide the results regarding to the support that I was doing to different destinations in Castilla-La Mancha. During the last years, I have been providing some support in different pillars that need to be necessary in order to increase the competitiveness of destinations. Mainly, we analyze the pillars technology, innovation, connectivity, sustainability, and accessibility. I have been always really concerned about the relationship between public and private institutions. So it is reflected in my collaboration with chairs and university company classrooms. I'm working as a director of a specific, sorry, yes. I'm working as a director as a specific chair and university company classroom, and I try to help to small destinations like Campo de Cristana, a small destination in Ciudad Real, organizing different activities and events to increase sustainability and the different aspects, economic aspects in this destination. Also, I have been initiated the creation of a network of chairs and university company classrooms of smart tourism destinations in Spain. During this project, I have been really concerned about the importance to help to small businesses. The training and the training that I obtained from this research, I try to apply it to provide different initiatives in order to improve the process of the different hotels in order to increase the smartness that these hotels include. Also, I'm collaborating in order to provide different initiatives to improve the competencies that the hotel industry need to include in order to be more effective. And I have always considered the importance of the participation in public policies. The training that I received from this project have been applied in terms of sustainability and technology in order to help the different politicians to make knowledge-based decisions. So these are the main initiatives, specific initiatives that I try to include in order to tackle the local challenges that we can find in our society. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Now, in view of the time, we will move to Joaquin.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. I would like to thank also the organizing committee for giving us the opportunity to participate in this nice event, because I think it's really nice because we get new questions that we never thought about, no? And I think it's good for the scientists to change the mentality and to have all these questions that we will discuss in later, no? As you can see on the screen, I was coordinating one of these RISE projects, which was called Nanoporous and Nanostructured Materials for Medical Applications. So there was a project where we were involving, at that time there were 7 European members countries. Then we had 2 associated countries, which was Ukraine and Moldavia. And then we had a 3rd country, which is Kazakhstan. So in principle, it was a 4-year project, but then we had to stop because of the COVID. Then we stopped because of the war with Ukraine and Russia. And at the end, we had to stop it. And I want to show this slide because just to show you that the beginning of the story, it was facing 2 regional problems, no? In one side, we had Ukraine. You know that in 1986, they had the Chernobyl accident. So due to the explosion of the reactor, they had a tremendous contamination by radioactive species. And we are talking about contamination in the air, in the water, in the plants, also in the animal soil, and of course the humans, they were also contaminated. No? And the second partner that we were involved in there, Kazakhstan, they have a region which was used by the Soviet Union to test nuclear bombs. No? So we have a similar situation. We have regions which are quite isolated where we have this radioactive contamination. And that was the beginning of our story. No? Facing two regional problems, we wanted to develop a project that you will see later that has a huge impact worldwide. No? Okay, so the beginning, or the objective at the beginning of the project was to develop nanoporous materials, and I put here at the bottom an example. We want to develop materials where we have millions of cavities, and the idea was to apply them into different things. We wanted to remove these radioisotopes, so we wanted to remove these balls that you can see on the screen, so those are isotopes that they are radioactive, but at the same time we wanted to apply them in human body. So when you assimilate these radioisotopes in your body is reacting and you are producing toxins and reactive oxygen species. So you are making organic molecules that they are really bad for your health. And we wanted to develop materials that they were able to be biocompatible and at the same time to tackle the two problems, to remove the source of the radiation and to remove the consequences of the radiation. So that was the beginning of this story. And of course, one of the beautiful things about the Marie Curie actions is that you need to involve, and you can do it, experts from a huge number of fields. I mean, we need experts from material science to develop the materials. We need engineers. We need people from cell biology, from radiation, from pharmacology. So that was our multidisciplinary approach to develop and to give an answer, a solution for this specific problem. At the end of the project, we managed to make composite materials. So we were combining two materials. As you can see on the screen, one was called activated carbon, which is quite common because we have it in the filters at home. And we had another one, which is a pectin, which you can see on the screen. This is just coming from biomass. So combining the two materials, we were able to make tablets that they were able to tackle the double problem. We were able to remove the radioisotopes, which are species that are in your body and they are immediately releasing radiation. And we were able also to solve or to mitigate the side effect, to remove from your body these reactive oxygen species that they are dangerous for your health. So at the end, as I say, we made these tablets which were biocompatible and they were able to do the two processes in only one single tablet. This is an example. One of the companies that we had in the consortium is Technologica. They are from Ukraine. And they are already selling these pectins. So they are commercially available, and as I say, you can take them after lunch or dinner, and they are helping you to remove specific components, like, for instance, these radioactive species. So this is extremely significant, as I say, for Ukraine and Kazakhstan, because they have this contamination with these radioactive species. The question now is, how important is this type of project? No? So as you can see here, by this project, we were able to make an impact in 7 of the sustainable and developable goals of the United Nations, no? Because we were working with poverty, with clean sanitation, clean water, with, I cannot see the climate action. So we were able to impact in 7 of them by developing this bottom-up approach. And now the question is, okay, we were starting in a regional problem. How much is the impact of the project at a large scale, no? And I think the answer is very simple. No? Nowadays, we have a very important international instability. We have the war in Ukraine with Russia, and we have also the conflict in between Israel and Palestine. In all these international conflicts, at the end, we are using chemical weapons and sometimes also nuclear weapons. So we are producing a lot of radioactive contamination, and this is affecting, as you can see here, the population. At the end, you have to realize that in these places, there is people living that they will take, just by drinking the water or by taking the food, they will take this contamination in their bodies. No? So this type of materials that we develop, they can provide a solution to these side effects, because we will be able to mitigate either the source of the contamination or the side effects that they produce in human body. We also we have open questions for the future. No? You know that nowadays when you have cancer, you are going to the hospital, you are exposed to advanced irradiation techniques. Of course, they are targeted to treat this specific problem that you have, which is the cancer. But we don't know if there will be side effects also concerning the development of these species in your body. No? So again, there can be an impact of this type of materials in these specific applications that they are normal nowadays in our daily life. I also added this question about what happens with our daily radiation sources, like for instance the mobile phone that we have in our pockets. No? So again, those are questions that we have to open in the debate after knowing all these side effects that we have when we are exposed to irradiation. No? So there are many open questions that we can tackle in the future after the development of this European project. And just to show you also the impact at the regional level, no? We were really happy because we managed to publish in the newspaper of the European Commission about the problem of the irradiation and how we can propose measures to mitigate the side effects. And also I put two beautiful moments in the project. One was our colleagues in Slovakia. They participated in Chemolandia, which was an event mainly for Ukrainian refugees. So they were able to show them about the progress in this nanomet project. And also in Alicante, where I'm coming from, we have one of the most prestigious awards is coming from one of the newspapers there, which is called Información. So last year we received the award, well, no, it was this year, we received the award to the project because there was a high sensitivity in the society, in this case in Alicante, about the impact of the work that we were doing. At the end, as I say, we are starting from the bottom problem, a regional problem, and we are developing something that has an international impact, no? And this is mainly what I wanted to share with you today.
Thank you very much, Joaquin, for the nice presentation. I have some questions I would ask that during the Q&A session. So now I move to Fernanda Bejanca for her presentation.
Thank you. And thank you also to the organizers for giving us the opportunity to talk about the MSCA, what we do here. The MSCA is actually an excellent example of the impact of the MSCA beneficiaries to global challenges. And I'm going to try to explain you how. So who are we? The MSCA is an association of past and present beneficiaries, which includes fellows, supervisors, project managers, coordinators. So there's a diversity of experiences passes. The Commission is our main funder, not the only one, but through the MSCA, actually, the beneficiaries access a network, support, during and after their projects, and the MSCA benefits from the input of that community also in the long term. Now, the MSCA aims to bring together this community and to support its career development through life and to be a voice for this community. And this is very important, and it's why we are here. So to start addressing the question of how the MSCA contributes to addressing global challenges, let me just make a brief profile of who we are, who our members are. We are currently over 21,000 members. About 1/3 are early career researchers, and the other 2/3 are mid-career and experienced researchers. There are also research managers, policymakers, public administrators, as Lorenzo was mentioning this morning. They work at governmental agencies, NGOs, banks, all sectors. And because the early researcher careers and the researchers' careers evolve into a diversity of paths, the impact of this community
is global or has the potential to be really global in our society. Not so fast. Our members are also coming from all scientific areas, and this is very important on the impact that we can have. 3/4 are based in Europe, but overall we are present in all continents, and same for nationalities. It's quite broad and covers the whole world. So actually this is MCAA's biggest asset, this diversity, the large membership base, and this global spread. The MCAA is organized in chapters, regional chapters. We have currently 36 chapters all over the world, and several working groups that are actually, I realize that the image is cut. It's not all working groups are represented there. Research managers got cut, for example, and they are very active. It's an example on the areas where we are mostly active. And it's in this context of this global approach represented all over the world and with all these different areas of interest that we address global challenges. Now, how in practice do we address global challenges? We work bottom up to identify needs of the research community, of the society, and work together to address them. And how do we address them? Through representing the community, for example, at COARA, ERA Research, ERA Forum, we are represented in different actions. We participate in discussions, in panels, like this one today, for example. But also, we train the community, we provide mentoring, we provide networking. Through our communication media, we disseminate all what we do. Through webinars, we train our members, we disseminate what they do, what we do together. Also, we participate in funded projects. For example, citizen science, open science, mental health. We have several projects where we are actively participating and that have actually a important research output. We also promote discussion and bring together researchers and policymakers, like the satellite event that will happen tomorrow, for example, organized by our research management working group. It's a cafe workshop where they are discussing with policymakers, interested people, about how together we can improve the MSCA impact and other aspects. So, last but not least, our flagship event, the MCAA annual conference, next year it will be in Milan. I invite you all to be present, by the way. And that's where our members get together with policymakers, societal actors, communicators, to address global questions that affect us all. Mm-hmm. And, well, last but not the least, importantly, we don't work alone. We can't work alone. Together we have more impact. So we are part of a global community. We achieve impact through collaborations, through partnerships. We are members of initiatives like ISC, Science Diplomacy Alliance, COARA, ISC, and it's really working together, this bottom-up approach that we impact, I hope, the global challenges that we will have. Mm-hmm. So thank you for listening. I hope to see you all in Milan next year, March 14 to 16. Your agendas. and hope to have the opportunity to talk with you there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fernanda, for the invitation to the audience. I can just reciprocate that. In the last year, I think we had an event on how science diplomacy can solve the societal challenges or global challenges. So this is a quite important event for the researcher, but also stakeholder, including research manager, policymakers, administrators, and the whole different stakeholder of the ecosystem. So now we are running a bit of time, so I will ask a set of questions to our speakers, but in the meantime, I would kindly ask if you could also show the questions we received so far from the audience. So please feel free to scan that QR code and ask any question to specific speakers. Now, if I can start with actually Joaquin, at the morning we saw that there was this, we saw that there is a gap between policymakers and the researchers. Now, you being a researcher already saw that where this gap is. So what strategies you think should be needed from the policymaker's perspective, but also from the researcher's perspective? So how to minimize this gap between the policymaker and researchers, and what strategies you think could be beneficial for that?
This is a very good question because as I mentioned at the beginning, the gap is very clear, and this is something that we never faced before. I mean, we were trained to look for the calls, prepare the project, apply for the project, then develop the project. At the end of the story, we just present the final results. And that was our end in our daily work. And I think now we have to change completely our idea in the same way that we have to find a way to transfer our knowledge to the society, and we have to do it in a very simple language. We need to also have the contact with these policymakers. The question is who is doing the job, because at the end of the day, the researchers, we are taking all the work, also now with a lot of bureaucracy. So I think we need support, like this morning Izaskun was saying, we need support to bridge this gap with the policymakers. First of all, we need to identify them, because from my experience, I never met them. So that's why today I was happy to be here, because I could see them, and now we need help of someone to contact them. And I think at this point, university is crucial. I think our institutions, they are able to identify in which projects we have specific results that can be good to make policies. That's why, compared to what she was saying this morning, that's what she was saying, to contact the good scientists, which is a way, but I think we have to support we have to go to the universities, because those are the places where they can identify specifically which projects they reach the point that this can go to a policymaker. And I think also this is good because for us, we will see that there is a continuation of our work, and also for our institutions, that will be like a motivation to be more involved supporting our projects, because they will have a relevant job connecting our research, in this case with the ministry or with the policymakers in general.
Thank you. You mentioned a very important point that researchers, at the beginning of this question, that researchers are now having different roles than like the administration. In some cases, there are alternatives, and there are, in MCA as well as in different stakeholders, there is this debate that researchers now asked to be contributing policy making, on science diplomacy, on science communication, writing grant, so when they will do research. So this is the reason there is actually the support system. There are the research manager, there are the policy officers, there are the entrepreneurship officers, which in different universities are having that. My question, just a follow-up question would be to Fernanda, that do you see the need for having the expertise from different fields to support researchers? And if so, I mean, we have seen there are some good examples that universities, organizations are employing that, but this is not in the vast level. So if so, that what is your thought on that, that whether this would be realistic, that not each university, at least in the local region, there is a simple support systems on all those?
That was a good point made this morning, and I think at the point where we stand, it is a very important action to take. We are researchers, and most of us do not only do research, we do a lot more. There's a lot of these transferable skills that we accumulate over time, and we do a lot of things on the side of research, but it's true that it starts being too much. And when you need to do it professionally, then you may need to have support. And that aspect of putting also the responsibility on the institutions to help the researchers in this sense to translate their research to the policymakers, that is paramount, because not all researchers will be able to do it, and most of researchers would have something to say. So you do need that support to make it more active, more productive to work together. It's true. At the same time, training to researchers, helping those that have the ability and the interest to develop those capacities is also important, I believe, because no one better than the researcher is able to explain its own research. So I think we need a mix of both, and definitely support to researchers. And definitely recognizing that effort of researchers in the research assessment.
So thank you, Fernanda. You mentioned about the training. I would just take from that, and when we talk about training, what are the core skills and competencies which an MSCA researchers need to ensure that they are addressing the key challenges? It's not only the researcher, there is this little bit of policy impact of that. So my question would be that to Estrella, what's your thought on this?
I think that the research experience is really important to have a profound knowledge in your field, and also I think the critical thinking. I mean, in order to have the capacity to critically evaluate the existing knowledge or the different the identification of different gaps that you can find in your field. I think it's really important the data analysis in order to collect data, analyze this data, provide insights from this analysis. Collaboration always is really important between researchers and between the private and public institutions, and also definitely I think the adaptability to the environment, to the changing environment is crucial in order to provide recommendations and to be and to try to provide solutions to the society.
Maybe just a follow-up question on this, because at the morning we saw about the importance of the teamwork, even in the research assessment and charter and code. Do you think that, I mean, in the current, or not the current, in the past, researchers are used to work in a silos, right? So being involved in a team, as well as being involved in different network, like you yourself are involved with Young Academy of Spain, as well as you are an MSCA member and the Global Young Academy member. Do you think that this external network helps you to give a broader perspective? It's what are the challenges and how to solve those?
Definitely, because when you are involved with different cultures, I think you can open your mind. You can see different perspectives in order to analyze a specific problem. In fact, I try to collaborate with researchers from different countries, Europe, Middle East, United States, in order to have these different perspectives to tackle a specific issue. It's very important.
Thank you. Please feel free to jump in if you would like to comment on any of this. The discussion should be interactive. I do have a question for Gerard specifically that, we saw Joaquin just mentioned that there are challenges for researchers to get involved, but from the MSCA point of view, what are the current challenges and limitations in terms of the policy impact on a global scale? And how do you think that this should be addressed?
Well, first of all, I would like to comment on something she said, and something important, and it's a bit linked to the second question, is that with MSCA we can really foster these networks, that go beyond the immediate research team. And for instance, one of the contestants that we'll see this afternoon was telling me that she's not a researcher. She's an MSCA fellow, but she's not a researcher. She's a policymaker. And by complete chance, she ended up cooperating with an MSCA project. And she's actually a civil servant working for a parliament. And eventually, her cooperation with the project helped the project, legitimate the research results and put them into practice on the field. And she was I was just chatting with someone and they told me, join the project. And she was like, okay. And then they ended up as a partner, and this increased dramatically, the impact of the project, because it was mostly composed by academia and also hospitals. And through that way, they could have this direct contact with them. She brought, her point of view into the equation. And this sort of arrangement is something we have to promote way more. I think people are not aware that this is possible, that our consortia can have this variety of actors involved. It's already difficult, to convey the message that MSCA goes beyond academia and research centers, and can also bring, public institutions into the equation. We saw some figures this morning. So it's even more difficult to say that actually in certain settings, we can, actually bring different people to the table, like researchers and policymakers actually, and say, okay, let's work together to maximize this impact.
I think this is something that is already changing, no? For instance, not in the Marie Curie, but in the RIA projects, no? In the research and innovation actions. Before, we were stopping in the moment that the chemistry is finished, no? We are developing this technology and we stop here, no? Now we have to involve also people that they can do an environmental assessment of what we do. We have also people that they are also helping in the dissemination, people that they are specific for the impact. So I think, as we were mentioning this morning, we have to incorporate also the public administration, most probably as a partner or as a consultant in the project. So we need to expand all these projects so that we are able to involve all the participants from the beginning to the end of the story, no? And it's a complete change in the mentality, but I think it's very useful for the future.
Yeah, definitely, I agree, and it's a bit linked to the previous question as well on the who has to be trained, who has to take up the role. And until now, I was in Cordoba recently for the European Researchers' Night, and they told me 10 years ago, they all thought this was a joke, that we were crazy. Nobody believed in us for organizing an event for children, Okay, it's about engagement with another kind of audience, but in the end of the day, engagement is crucial at all levels, and this is why, and I said that before, we made this change in Horizon Europe, and open science encompasses also this aspect of research. Research should not stop at the lab, should not stop there, and research without dissemination, without engagement, will not go far. And linked to the way we assess it as well, sometimes a paper has an extremely limited impact, and that very same research turned into a policy brief, into participation in a commission at a regional parliament would have a massive impact compared to that paper. But we need to tell that person you will be rewarded for this. What you did is great, and it will be considered, in the assessment of your career on your next opportunities. But until we don't do that, it will be very hard, to make people shift from one thing to the other. And also we need support behind. Again, in Cordoba, they were telling us, thanks to this, we eventually managed to convince people this was worth it, and we could create a structure at the university that supports our researchers in all the engagement activities they do. Reaching out to the press, reaching out to local authorities, reaching out to local audiences. So the minds are changing, and that's what we should work on mostly, but okay, we're getting there.
If you look at the impact, it's not only the tackling the challenges, it's also ensuring that the next generation of the researcher are interested on STEM education. So that has a much bigger and broader impact in that sense. I mean, from MCAA, we are involved with the European Citizen Science Project, as well as one of our board members actually showed a nice play in Cordoba at the MCAA conference last year. So we showed that impact at the first hand, that the people are getting more interested, and then hopefully, I mean, this is a different point of discussion when we talk about the policy impact, hopefully that will help getting more fund for the MSCA researchers, and hopefully there will not be cut from the MSCA project in the next framework program. I think Fernanda wanted to mention one point here.
Yes. We were talking about the challenges of the MSCA, and I think that one of the challenges is to transfer this set of best practices. We were talking about the assessment that was pioneered, actually, open science and all that. It's difficult for the MSCA to transpose these best practices to the national level, because there's no level of action at the national level. And that's where the MCAA has a potential to impact, because we have local chapters literally everywhere, and we can bring these issues bottom up, and not only we can, but we do. There are several examples. For example, in Italy, the example of the Global Fellowship, the Global Fellows, that thanks to the push from our members, were allowed to enter a tenure track on the returning phase, and this was thanks to this activism that starts from our local chapters, local members. So I think we have a good cooperation here and continuation of the MSCA actions, then at the national level.
I'm glad that you mentioned about the best practices, because this would be my actually question to Estrella, that what are the ways you can share the best practices from, not only from MSCA, from around the world, and then make it implement it or make an impact in the local level? Is there any tools or platform which you could think of?
Yes, I think that we can implement different online platform tools in order to create interaction between scientists, experts, and also the collaboration of different institutions, and maybe a kind of a capacity building. I mean, a platform where different resources or different findings from different European projects can be included in this platform is always welcome. Or maybe different forums or discussion boards in order to create this debate and between different institutions and different experts is always positive.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's look at the questions from the Slido, then see if we have any, and otherwise, okay. I think the question is for Gerard. How can the MSCA can be defined in one short sentence? I cannot actually see the other part, but
it's a mobility program.
Okay, saying that it's a mobility. So, Gerard, difficult job for you, one short sentence.
I guess it's without saying it's a mobility program, right? Yeah, well, I don't know, it's very small. We have a small screen here, but we can barely see. But Yeah, I think there are four elements that are important to evoke, and it's mostly training, career development, and cooperation across sectors, countries, and disciplines. I would say, as long as this is mentioned.
Okay.
We are quite happy with that, but you will agree with us that MSCA goes way beyond a mobility program. Yes. Yeah.
Can we see the second question? Because I think there are 5 nanomed projects. So question for Joaquin, you mentioned a lot of potential impact that could be achieved with the results of the project. Who is getting the spills at the moment? What is the specific impact at the moment?
So as I was showing on the screen, one of the partners, which is one company from Ukraine, those are the ones that they are developing at the moment only the pectin component.
Mm-hmm.
So they are selling this, as far as I know, in Ukraine and I think also in Russia. And is complemented with vitamins and is working quite okay for the removal of these radioactive species. No? In the project, we were also developing the combined composite with activated carbon. The problem is that both components, they were mainly developed in Ukraine, and then there was the war arriving. So we were planning to go to certifying bodies with the final pill. But then, as I say, everything stopped. Many of the researchers, they also left the country. And then we had to stop with the project. So this is something that we need to continue in the future. No?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. The next question, please. So what will be the most important topics for MSCA in the future? So this is interesting because I would like to get a bit more view, not only from you, but also from the panelists on that, because you all are associated in the past or present with the MSCA project. So what would be your view first? I will start with Fernanda then.
It's a difficult one because the MSCA, by definition, works bottom-up. So, as Claire was saying this morning, imposing topics maybe is not the way to go. Of course, if you take it more overall, what should the MSCA itself focus on? I would say, on a selfish perspective, focus on the fellows, on the MCAA, focus on promoting this continuation of the fellows. Actually, the fellows and the beneficiaries, they are supported over 1 to 3 years by the MSCA. They are supported by the MCAA throughout their life. We are a continuation of the support that the MSCA gives to fellows. And working together on this perspective, how we can together even improve this support, giving and taking back is important, I think.
So basically what you are saying is that once the fellowship ends, it ends at one point of time, then MCAA is actually, even a current fellow can become a member, but then MCA take, in a way, basically address some of the challenges faced by the researcher, and MCA should be equipped with more necessary resources. So that is one of the feedback, Gerard, for you from Fernanda. Then I would like to ask Joaquin, what would be your view on this?
I agree that this is a very difficult question. I would say the other way. I mean, it's important that the thematic is open, because I always made the comparison with the other type of projects where you have a specific thematic. Usually these projects, they are more developed to help Europe to reach this specific target. The good point about the Marie Curie is that as we have more freedom in terms of topic, sometimes you identify problems which are not inside Europe, they are in the surrounding countries. So let's say that we don't face them every day, but at the end, if this problem is bigger, Europe is suffering from them. And our project is an example. I mean, we don't have radioactive contamination or huge radioactive contamination in Europe, but we have countries around that in case, as I say, there is an accident, we will suffer it also. So I think this is the most important point, in my opinion, for the Marie Curie. This open topic gives us the opportunity to identify these regional problems. and to make these consortiums to solve or to give an answer to this specific problem. So that's why I think it's important not to have a specific topics.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, Estrella.
From my side, I think that the most important topics in the future of Marie Curie actions should address the societal challenges. I think that technology must be in the different projects, climate change and the different inequalities in the society. I think that these topics will be relevant in the future.
Yeah, I could answer just by saying whatever the research and innovation community decides, because there's not more than that. But I'm going to say that I would change the question and say that whatever stems from the research our projects are doing. And we have to see, for sure, there will be some topics more prominent than others, and climate change comes to mind. I mean, it's the #1 thing for all of us, but we need to increase our efforts to bring together these projects contributing to certain topics, make them network, train them, give them resources to make their research more visible, to ensure a transition from MSCA to other funding schemes, to national support. And at the same time, we have to remember that research and innovation is not a prerogative of the European Union. So what we do comes on top of member states' action. And we need more money. So, yeah, that's the important thing. But yes, we need to increase the efforts to make those topics, in which our projects are working, more visible, and bring these researchers, give them some means to increase their voice and impact. So, yeah, okay.
Thank you. If I may just add 2 cents here, not only for the topics, but as a program. I mean, if you look at the overall, as you said, it's not only mobility program, it's beyond that. And in some sense, MSCA is really an ideal program. Mm-hmm. Of course, it needs to deal with adaptation, change in academia, change in the research ecosystem. But if you look at it, what we are talking about now, be it an assessment, be it a career development plan, it's MSCA had it for more than 15 years. Mm-hmm. So my one point would be not to change the things what is working. It's also a scientist perspective in one sense. And that includes the names which were working quite fine. For example, individual fellows and other things, but also the component, specific component, so that it's more open to the researcher of really from all different fields, all different career stages. Mm-hmm. Now, if we could move to the 4th question.
Yeah, I guess that one is for me.
Yes.
So, yes, first of all, many of these participants were already in Europe before starting their fellowship, and that's important. Just to give you an example, I would say after Italians, Indians are the main participants in MSCA. We found like hundreds, if not thousands of Indians in MSCA. Many of them went through the UK before embarking on an MSCA grant. That's an important element. And then eventually, yes, we know that most of them stay in Europe after their fellowship. I don't remember the percentage now, and it's also very difficult to track. But a significant part stays, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So,
the next question, please. Comment, no need for professional training in soft skills for the researchers if they have support from their institutions.
I would disagree, if I may,
Yeah.
because it's not only while they are in that institution doing that research, it's for the future, it's for their career development. A great proportion of early career researchers do not stay in academia, and so developing soft skills training is important. Now there has to be a balance. It can't be all training in soft skills and overwhelming the researchers, especially at an early career stage.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't agree either.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we know that the situation varies enormously from one university to the other, from one team to the other, and you might have that supervisor that tells you, yeah, again, engagement is just bullshit, it's not worth it, but if we can tell that specific person, you committed to this in this grant, you have to do it, then hopefully, okay, he or she will change his mind, and then we'll make things move a bit, so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is no debate on this, the need of training, especially the transferable skills training for researcher at even all career stage, actually. But yeah, so the next one is, how do you see the role of EC in connecting researchers and policymakers after the project ends? I think there was a brief topic from Joaquin or someone was talking about it. Yeah, anyone wants to jump in? Australia? Yeah.
Personally, I believe that the European Commission should follow up the researcher after the project. I have tried to be connected with the European Commission and the different activities of the European Commission by my own principles and the way I work, but I think it's necessary an additional connection from the European Commission, from the institution after the project.
Thank you.
I think if we compare the projects that we have at national level and European level, no, the multidisciplinarity is 100% in the European projects. So I think European Commission is the one that has to start helping us to connect with these policymakers, no? Because it makes more sense in these specific projects where we have, as I say, this multidisciplinarity, because at the end of the day, the impact is much higher compared to our national project where we are mainly working either alone or with some colleagues, but we don't have this big infrastructure that we have in the European. So I think, in my opinion, European Commission has to be the one that has to initiate what we are missing at the moment, which is this connection with the policymakers.
Thank you. Then we have a new question. Are public institutions or officers ready to participate in EU R&I projects? That's an interesting question.
May I add something
Yes,
to Joaquin's? I mentioned this very briefly before, but in the last years, despite our limited means, because we have limited means for the follow-up after the projects, we've been making an effort to bring projects in different topics that were interesting to us together to the table, and this includes running, ended projects, and we organize a series of cluster events in fields that are interesting for the Commission and for current policies. That's true, such as cancer, artificial intelligence. We had another one on oceans and water as well, and one on the Green Deal, and also on industrial doctorates, so cooperation with non-academic sector through our doctoral programs. So we've been trying with that at least to create another occasion after the projects end for networking, you know, for potential cooperation to submit new projects as well, not necessarily in MSCA, and often these cluster events included the participation of other Commission departments that are funding also research in other areas. But certainly this needs to be amplified. But again, yes, to our regret, we have limited means for this. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to organize more in the future. Yeah.
I think this morning Lorenzo, he was mentioning something very important. No, we as a scientist, we know how to apply for projects. We know how to write the papers. For instance, with the Marie Curie, with this intersectorial mobility, that was extremely good for us because we could see science from the industrial point of view. And he was pointing about also the immobility with the public administration. At my age, I will be extremely happy if I can do it in the future, because that will be like the missing point in my career, and I think the same for the young scientist. So I think if I have to give a final answer, I will say this is the most important at the moment for me. if we can also involve this public administration for us to go there and the same way around, so that we can learn from each other, no?
I mean, not in Europe yet, but this is what MCAA is basically vocal for quite some time, to have a similar, because at the morning, Lorenzo mentioned SSS fellowship, and I know a lot about that, and we have in the science diplomacy arena, if you look at it, there are great politicians or even actually bureaucrats went from the SSS fellowship. So it's really, really a program which is helped to, in a way, develop both scientists and policymakers. So I think we do not have a complete replication of that program. However, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, basically, if you look at it, in principle, MSCA could be one of them. Basically, you could have a grant where you go to a public administration or public policy affairs. I mean, we did have one or two examples in MCAA actually that happened, but this is not in a way streamlined. So I think that is more needed. The communication and awareness is more needed. Also in US, not only SSS fellowship, what you mentioned that there is something called Jefferson Fellowship, I think it's under the State Department, where a professor like you will go to a State Department for 1 year. And then the person can, that's the most important thing, the person can go back to academia, that's important, but he or she will have basically a temporary placement in State Department to advise on matters which are related with that. So I think this is really, really important, the bridge between the public office as well as with the researcher. I think we took all the questions, but I just wanted to ask, yes, Martha. So can we have a mic here? Here, Martha.
If I may, in the meantime, at the national level, you have some initiatives like that in several countries.
Yes.
Maybe
in
not
Spain,
at
actually,
European.
they had this initiative a couple of years ago, where early career researchers were going to Spanish embassies outside, and I'm not sure if this is still running, but yeah, Martha.
Hi, thanks a lot. I'm Marta Agostinho. I'm from EU Life Alliance of Independent Research Institutes in the life sciences across Europe. Thanks for the discussion. I have two comments that maybe if you could comment back, it would be nice. So, regarding what you said, Mustafa, and I think it's really, I really loved hearing you saying that what you need now in your career is to go to public administration and deal. And I'm thinking, this is so needed, but what we need also is not to burden Marie Sklodowska-Curie budget with this. We need budget partnership from other parts of the European and national budget to support this, because what I'm thinking is, what do we need from the politicians and or policymakers? They also need to do their part in this. It cannot be only just for scientists, because we are doing this for the society, not for ourselves. My first comment. If I'm allowed another comment. My second comment is more internal, like internal to the scientific community, and I was reflecting in your initial discussion, and I think there are two models. I mean, science is complex and is no longer an individual activity. We have the support model, where there is scientists and then support people around, but we could have the collaborative model. We have the scientist, but the scientific community is not only made of scientists purely doing science, but there is a lot of actors that maybe they were also scientists themselves or not. But it's a collaborative effort. It's not a support. These two models are different and they have different challenges and advantages. But if we are talking about triple and quadruple helix, I think we should be talking about collaborative and not support.
Very good point, Martha. Anyone wants to reflect on that?
I mean, in my case, when I was talking about this mobility to the public administration, I was thinking more in the way that we need to know the other side, so that it's much more easy for us to communicate. But what we have to avoid is that at the end everything is going back to the researcher, because our agenda is already full. Yeah. So I was thinking more about it will be useful for me if I can stay a couple of weeks there so that I can learn from the other side. And then my communication with this collaborative person in between the policymaker or the administration and our side, at least I will be able to understand much more easily the language. But of course, we need this collaborative network, because if not, at the end, everything is just on the same person. No?
Yes, if I may, when I work with the different stakeholders, when I work with organizations or destinations, or even public institutions, I have been speaking about support, but I also receive the feedback from these stakeholders. So in this case, I think we can create a collaboration between us in order to offer different recommendations, they for me and I for them, for these actors. But I see your point, and I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe to complement again, the current funding schemes can be used for that. I mean, and this is one of the reasons also why we introduced the possibility of doing a placement at the end of our fellowships. Those 6 months can be used to spend some time at industry. So, sorry for those that might not know, in our fellowships we give the possibility of funding 6 additional months of fellowship if the researcher does a placement in outside of academia, and that's a possibility. Of course, it has to be foreseen from the onset of the project, but researchers can spend time in the public administration as well, or some other organization. It doesn't need to be a company or an SME. No, definitely not. And also other schemes such as staff exchanges can be used for that eventually. So,
we have 3 more minutes, or a bit more than 3 more minutes, before we go to the closing part or closing statement from the speaker. I have one quick question to ask. Anyone can answer that. It's we talked about the global impact, but what concrete action, or it could be action, it could be networking, you could take at the local level, which could have a global impact? Maybe Fernanda, quickly.
Well, there's plenty. What we do with our working groups, our chapters, especially in this case on the context of the question, our chapters, is brought bottom up, and it spreads in the community also. So often we end up by developing bigger projects based on local initiatives. From the MSCA perspective, this is mostly how we work.
Okay, good. So now we are at the very end. So I would like to ask each of the speaker, what is the one thing, not multiple things, one thing you can take away from here, or you can actually, you have a recommendation for the policymaker? Fernanda.
A recommendation for the policymakers.
I'm sorry, we need to cut down that question. We are really running out of time. So one thing, that is the question to you, not on the screen. So.
Oh, sorry, I got confused because I was seeing it also on the screen. For the policymakers, just come and talk to the researchers. We are eager to collaborate, to have this two-way talk. To the beneficiaries of MSCA that are not members, I would strongly recommend to join us. We offer this platform to allow to interact with policymakers. So it's this recommendation of the communication that we are promoting and that we are eager to continue.
So your thing.
What I will tell them is that we don't have to be afraid of each other, no? Because I think we can help each other a lot. I always put the example in Spain. Some years ago, we had a gap with the industry. And we were always thinking, can we help them? When you go and you visit them, you can see that our knowledge is extremely important for them. So it's extremely clear. Now you have to extrapolate I don't know what I can teach or I can help to the policy makers, but for sure, if we sit on the same table, we will end up with a lot of collaboration. So that will be the message.
Thank you very much. Estrella, one thing.
Yes, I think that as researchers, we need to ensure that the benefits and the findings of our research extend to the diverse communities and contribute to the well-being of local populations. And I think that the institutions and the police officers have an important role in this.
You have 25 seconds, one thing.
I'm going to go as well for communication. This is something...
You cannot copy-paste.
I cannot copy-paste. I cannot copy-paste. I would say, linked to your previous question, we need to work on reciprocity and make other funding schemes accessible, other funding schemes in other countries and regions of the world accessible, so that researchers can also, participate in them as they can do in our own. And it's more connected to your first question. But
That's okay. So with this, thank you very much to all the speakers for your very interactive and nice discussion. And thank you for being a wonderful audience and your interesting questions. Thank you. And I think now we will have a coffee break, and then we have a coffee break to the main venue, and then we go to the main session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.